When we talk about the things women never forget, most people jump straight into clichés: money, looks, status. But that's not what truly stays in a woman's heart. Today's video is about women never forgetting a man who does certain things for them, and we're going to explore it in a way most people never do. As a therapist, I've spent years sitting across from women who were trying to understand their relationships, heal from them, or hold on to them. And what they remember is never what society assumes. So let me welcome you to the channel, because today's conversation is going to be uncomfortable for some men and incredibly eye-opening for others. I'm not here to demonize anyone. I'm here to share what experience has shown me again and again. Women don't remember every man they meet, but there are certain men whose presence stays with them permanently. Not because he was perfect, not because he had everything figured out, but because of how he made her feel, the kind of feelings she can't just erase. I've had countless sessions where a woman would sit across from me years after a relationship ended, still affected by the actions of a man she once trusted. Sometimes it was pain, sometimes admiration, sometimes love she couldn't quite let go of. And as a therapist, you start noticing patterns. You start realizing that women remember the men who made emotional imprints, not just temporary impressions. This video isn't about tactics or manipulation. It's about the psychological truth behind why some men are unforgettable. And if you're watching this because you want to be a better partner or simply understand the emotional world women live in, you're already on the right path. Stick with me, because once you truly understand what creates that lasting imprint, you'll never look at connection the same way again. 1. The man who listens without judgment. There is something unforgettable about a man who truly listens. Not the kind of listening where he waits for his turn to speak or mentally searches for a way to correct her, fix her, or prove her wrong. I'm talking about the kind of listening where a woman feels safe to express herself without fear of being dismissed, mocked, or belittled. As a therapist, I've watched women describe this type of man with a softness in their voice. Even if the relationship didn't last, even if life pulled them in different directions, they still remembered how it felt to be heard. It changes a person. You might be surprised by how many women sit in therapy and say, "I just wanted him to understand me." Not agree with every feeling, not solve every problem, just understand. When a man listens without judgment, he isn't trying to win an argument. He isn't trying to protect his ego. He's creating a place where she can put her thoughts down for a moment and breathe. Most people underestimate how powerful that is. When a woman knows she can be honest, she doesn't have to build walls or hide parts of herself. She becomes open, emotional, and connected. And once she experiences that with a man, she never forgets it. I've sat across from women who were dating men with money, charm, or confidence, yet the thing they longed for most was emotional presence. A woman can have the world, but if she feels unheard, she feels alone. On the other hand, a man who listens not to control her narrative, but to understand her world, becomes rare. Women don't forget rare. Listening without judgment doesn't mean agreeing with everything she says. It doesn't mean sacrificing your voice or identity. It simply means giving her space to exist in the relationship without fear. When she's anxious, he doesn't call her dramatic. When she's hurt, he doesn't tell her she's overreacting. When she shares something vulnerable, he doesn't make her regret opening up. That type of emotional safety is unforgettable. Some men underestimate how deeply women remember the moments they opened up and were met with compassion instead of criticism. Years later, long after a relationship ends, a woman can recall the tone of his voice, the calm in his presence, and the comfort in knowing she didn't have to hide her feelings. And even if another man comes along who has more to offer on paper, that emotional experience sets a standard inside her mind. She knows the difference between someone who listens to respond and someone who listens to understand. A man like that leaves a permanent imprint. And the most interesting part, he may not even realize he's doing anything special, but to her, it's unforgettable. 2. The man who protects her emotional safety. Most men hear the word protect and think of physical danger. They imagine stepping in during an argument, defending her honor, or shielding her from the outside world. But in therapy, I learned something that many men overlook. The protection women remember most is emotional. A woman might never encounter physical danger in her relationship, but emotional safety is tested almost every day. And the man who knows how to protect that becomes unforgettable. Let me explain this simply. Emotional safety means she can show you who she really is without being punished for it. When she's scared, she can tell you. When she's angry, she doesn't have to bury it. When she's vulnerable, she doesn't have to worry that you'll use it against her later. This is what most women come to therapy searching for. Not a perfect man, but a safe one. I've had countless sessions where women say, "I couldn't talk to him. He made me feel small. He made me feel stupid. He made me feel like my emotions were too much." They don't forget the hurt because disrespect leaves a scar, but they also never forget the man who did the opposite, the man who made them feel protected emotionally. You can hear it in their voice when they talk about him. It's softer, calmer, almost grateful. That's the difference. Men often underestimate how deeply simple things matter. Not interrupting when she speaks, not throwing her feelings back in her face during an argument, not making jokes about what she's insecure about, not shutting down or walking away when she's expressing something heavy. This isn't weakness, it's strength. Emotional protection requires self-control, maturity, and the ability to listen even when the conversation isn't comfortable. A woman feels emotionally safe with the man who chooses understanding over ego. When she cries, he doesn't mock her. When she trusts him with something painful from her past, he doesn't weaponize it later. When she's overwhelmed, he reassures instead of criticizing. Over time, that emotional security becomes something she connects to, relies on, even long after the relationship ends. And here's the part most men don't realize. Emotional safety isn't loud. It's not dramatic. It's not something she announces or praises every day. But it's something she feels. It changes her behavior. Her walls come down. Her tone softens. She becomes more affectionate, more open, more giving. Women don't give their best to the man who scares them emotionally. They give it to the man who protects their heart, even during conflict. Years later, she won't remember every date or every gift, but she will remember the peace she felt around him. Peace is unforgettable, and the men who know how to create it, they leave a mark no one else can replace. 3. The man who shows consistency, not promises. Consistency is one of those quiet qualities that doesn't get a lot of attention, but as a therapist, I've seen how powerful it is. When women talk about the men they could never forget, they rarely mention the ones who made the biggest promises. They talk about the ones who actually showed up, the men who didn't just speak but followed through, the men whose actions matched their words. Most people can promise the world. It's easy to say, "I'll be there for you," or "I'll change," or "I'll do better next time." But promises are just words, and women hear a lot of words throughout their lives. What separates a forgettable man from an unforgettable one is consistency, the small repeated actions that prove reliability. A message when he said he would message, an apology followed by changed behavior, a plan he makes and actually keeps. These things sound simple, but in reality, they're rare. I've sat across from women who felt tired from hearing empty commitments. Their frustration wasn't that their partner failed once, it was that he kept failing and kept promising he wouldn't. That kind of inconsistency slowly breaks trust. It makes her feel unsafe, unimportant, or easy to disappoint. But when she talks about a man who was consistent, there's a sense of respect in her voice. He wasn't perfect, but he was steady. And steady is unforgettable. Consistency gives a woman something most relationships never provide: emotional stability. It's not dramatic, it's not flashy, but it's healing. When a man shows consistency, he becomes dependable. She knows what version of him she'll get. She doesn't have to guess what mood he'll be in or wonder if his affection is temporary. She doesn't have to hold her breath waiting for disappointment. That predictability becomes comfort, and comfort becomes connection. Men sometimes think grand gestures prove love, flowers, gifts, big romantic moments. And yes, those can matter. But what truly reaches a woman is how you treat her when no one is watching. Does your tone change when you're upset? Do you keep her secrets? Do you show up on the days when it would have been easier to make an excuse? Women don't remember the size of the gesture. They remember the consistency of the effort. Think of it like this. Trust isn't built in a single moment. It's built in repetition. When a woman realizes she can count on you, something shifts inside her. She relaxes. She opens up. She stops fearing abandonment or disappointment. That feeling stays long after the relationship ends. Even years later, she will compare other men to the one who didn't just talk. He proved things through action. A consistent man becomes unforgettable, not because he tries to impress her, but because he makes her feel secure. And emotional security is one of the deepest forms of love a woman can experience. 4. The man who makes her feel seen, not used. In almost every relationship, there comes a moment where a woman silently asks herself, does he really see me, or am I just filling space in his life? It's not a dramatic moment, not a speech, not an argument. It's a quiet realization, and it either deepens the relationship or begins to distance it. As a therapist, I've heard this question expressed in different ways, sometimes softly, sometimes through tears, sometimes with anger. But it always comes down to one thing. Every woman wants to feel seen. Let me give a gentle example without revealing details. I once worked with a couple who had been together for years. From the outside, nothing seemed wrong. They had a stable life, no major conflicts, and mutual respect. But during a session, the woman said something that explained everything. She said, "I know he loves me, but I don't think he knows me." That is one of the most painful places a relationship can reach. She didn't want more money or more romance. She wanted him to notice her emotions, her efforts, her dreams, her fears. She wanted to feel valued, not just present. Being seen means paying attention in ways that go beyond surface-level presence. It's understanding her moods without mocking them. It's noticing when she's overwhelmed without waiting for her to break down. It's remembering small details she thought you'd forget, the things she mentioned casually, the things she hoped someone would care about. Women don't forget the man who makes them feel emotionally visible. And here's the part most men don't realize. Feeling used doesn't only happen in casual relationships. A woman can feel used by a man she loves if she feels he only reaches for her when he needs something. Attention when he's bored, affection when he's lonely, kindness only when he wants something in return. That kind of pattern leaves emotional bruises. She feels like a convenience, not a partner. But when a woman feels truly seen, everything changes. She softens. She lets herself trust. She shares more of her world. She doesn't have to fight for affection or beg for recognition. I've seen women speak about a man they once loved with this kind of memory. He understood me. He noticed things about me no one else did. I felt safe telling him anything. Even if the relationship ended, the imprint stayed. That's what makes a man unforgettable. Anyone can compliment her looks. Anyone can enjoy her body. But the man who sees her emotions, her effort, her intelligence, her sensitivity, her strength, that man becomes someone she carries with her, not because he controlled her, not because he overwhelmed her, but because he made her feel valued in a world where most people only see what they want from others. Women never forget the man who made them feel like a person, not a possession. 5. The man who stays calm in her chaos. Every woman has moments where life feels overwhelming. Stress from work, family pressure, insecurity, arguments, fears she never talks about publicly. Sometimes it all spills out at once. When that happens, many men make the mistake of responding with frustration, silence, or anger. I've watched this play out in therapy too many times. She cries, he shuts down, she panics, he gets annoyed, she raises her voice, he raises his louder. And later, the man sits in that same room wondering why she no longer comes to him with her feelings. The mistake that so many men don't realize they're making is reacting to her emotion instead of understanding it. When a woman is overwhelmed, telling her she's too emotional, dramatic, making a big deal out of nothing, or overthinking doesn't calm her. It makes her feel alone in the moment she needs connection the most. These phrases are some of the fastest ways to break trust. They tell her she's not safe expressing herself. And once a woman believes that, she starts hiding everything. But the men women never forget, the ones they still talk about years later, are the ones who choose calmness even in the storm. Not silence, not distance, not anger. Calmness. A calm man doesn't mean he's weak or passive. It means he has self-control. It means he can comfort her without losing himself. It means he can hold steady while she falls apart for a moment. That emotional strength becomes unforgettable. So what does the right response look like? Instead of saying, "You're overreacting," a calm man says, "Talk to me. Help me understand." Instead of saying, "I don't want to deal with this," he says, "I'm here. Let's take it one step at a time." Instead of walking away while she's breaking down, he stays long enough to show she isn't dealing with everything alone. Sometimes the best thing a man can say is simple: "I hear you. You're safe with me. I'm not leaving. We'll figure this out." These small sentences have healed more relationships than any gift or apology. A calm presence reassures her nervous system. It grounds her. It tells her she's still loved, even when she doesn't feel lovable in that moment. I've heard women describe it in therapy. He didn't fix everything, but he stayed. He didn't yell back. He helped me breathe. Those memories stay forever because calmness equals emotional protection, and emotional protection equals trust. A woman doesn't need a perfect man. She needs a steady one. When chaos comes, anyone can walk away, mock her, or shut down. Very few men can stay composed, patient, and kind. That's why women never forget the man who doesn't become her problem when she already has enough on her plate. He becomes her peace, and peace is something the heart remembers for a lifetime. 6. The man who owns his mistakes and fixes them. If there is one thing I've learned from years of working with couples, it's this. Every relationship can survive mistakes, but not every relationship survives denial, blame, or excuses. Women don't expect perfection. They don't expect a man to never raise his voice, never hurt their feelings, or never make a wrong decision. But they never forget the man who can say, "I messed up and I'm going to make it right." Most men were raised to believe that admitting fault makes them weak. So instead of taking responsibility, they defend themselves. They justify, they explain. They say, "I only did that because you," and the blame shifts to her. In her mind, the mistake becomes the second problem. The denial becomes the first. I've had women sit in my office, describing moments where a simple apology could have changed everything. Instead, the man chose pride over connection. Those moments stay with them, not because the error was unforgivable, but because the refusal to repair it made them feel unimportant. But when a man owns his mistakes, everything changes. It doesn't matter how small or big the issue is. When he takes responsibility, he sends a message. "Your feelings matter more than my pride." That kind of humility is powerful. Women remember it because it's rare. A man who can look her in the eyes and say, "I'm sorry, I should have handled that differently," shows emotional maturity. But a man who apologizes and then changes his behavior, that's unforgettable. There's a difference between apology and repair. An apology is words. Repair is action. He speaks differently. He listens more carefully. He pays attention to the things he overlooked. When a woman sees consistent change, trust starts growing again. In therapy, I've watched entire relationships shift just because a man was brave enough to say, "I hurt you, and I don't want to do that again." It's also important to understand that admitting mistakes doesn't make a man look weak. It makes him look strong. It shows self-awareness. Women don't respect the man who pretends he's flawless. They respect the man who learns, evolves, and refuses to let ego destroy something valuable. Owning mistakes also means not keeping score. It means not saying, "Well, you've done worse," or "Everyone makes mistakes." Those phrases minimize her pain. A man gains her trust not by comparing wrongs, but by understanding how his actions affected her. And here's what most men overlook. Fixing a mistake creates emotional intimacy. When she sees that he cares about her feelings enough to change his behavior, she feels protected, valued, and chosen. Years later, long after the relationship ends, a woman may still remember the man who apologized sincerely and changed honestly. Not because he was perfect, but because he proved he loved her more than he loved being right. That kind of man is impossible to forget. 7. The man who loves her without trying to control her. There is a certain kind of love that feels safe, and another kind that feels like a cage. What many men don't realize is that a woman can be in a relationship, fully committed, deeply loyal, and still feel trapped if she has no freedom to breathe, think, or exist as her own person. The men women never forget aren't the ones who tried to own them. They're the ones who loved them without clipping their wings. Control rarely shows up as a loud command. It starts quietly. Don't wear that. Why do you need to go out? Why are you talking to them? You don't need that job. You don't need those friends. It feels like concern at first. Later, it feels like surveillance. Eventually, it feels like a prison. I've listened to women describe this slowly tightening grip in therapy. And what hurt them most wasn't the restriction. It was the message behind it. I don't trust you. But when a man trusts a woman, when he respects her independence, when he encourages her goals instead of competing with them, when he loves her without needing to own her, that kind of love is unforgettable. A woman will always remember the man who wasn't threatened by her strength, the one who didn't need to make her small to feel big, the one who didn't try to control her to feel secure. I've seen it in sessions countless times. A woman talks about the man who let her grow, and her whole expression changes. She sits up straighter. She smiles without thinking. Because he wasn't just a partner, he was a safe place. A man who loves without controlling shows his strength by staying confident, not by trying to limit her world. What does that look like in real life? It's simple. He wants her to succeed even if it means she shines brightly. He supports friendships that are healthy for her. He doesn't interrogate her when she needs space. He listens to her dreams without laughing at them. He doesn't make her choose between love and her life. He knows that if she feels trusted, she will love him even deeper. Freedom in a relationship doesn't mean distance. It actually creates closeness. When a woman feels trusted, she naturally becomes more affectionate, more loyal, and more emotionally connected. When she doesn't have to fight for autonomy, she willingly gives more of herself. It's ironic, but true. The men who try to control lose her faster. The men who trust her win her heart completely. Years later, women don't talk about the man who monitored her phone, questioned every friend, or controlled her choices. They remember the one who made them feel strong, supported, and safe to be themselves. That kind of love stays in a woman's heart forever. Not because he needed to own her, but because he allowed her to remain whole while being loved. A woman may meet many men in her lifetime, but she never forgets the one who treated her heart with respect. Not the loudest, not the richest, not the most charming, but the one who made her feel safe, understood, valued, and free. Every section of this video comes down to one truth. Unforgettable men don't win with control or manipulation. They leave a mark because they create emotional peace. If you want to be that man, start focusing less on impressing a woman and more on protecting the relationship. The impact you make in her heart will last longer than anything money can buy.